Okie dokie boys and girls, it is day 326 of bulking to 75 kilos with calisthenics only, and even though it's day 326, I've only really focused on getting strong at 5 different exercises, to put on over 5 kilos of mass during this bulk. And I believe if you get stronger at exercises, the physique is gonna follow as long as you're eating enough. But, when it comes to the exercises, there's 4 of them that many of you will know, and then there's one that 90% of you are probably not doing. So what are the exercises that you know? Planche, of course, for the biceps and for the shoulders. Then you have the front lever for the triceps and the rear delts and all of the muscles in your back basically. Then we have the pistol squat, which of course is gonna be for your legs, it's gonna be for your quadriceps, also your glutes. And then the one I added most recently is the push-up, because in the exercises I mentioned previously, there's not really any exercise that hits your chest. So I added the push-up almost 3 months ago, and I've been seeing great benefits for it. But what is the 5th exercise, It's the Nordic curl, and the Nordic curl is basically the exercise that will build your hamstrings, Just like for your arms, you have your biceps and your triceps. If you take your arm and you think of it as a leg, the tricep becomes your quadriceps, it extends, and your bicep is the muscle on the backside of your leg, that's the hamstring. And oftentimes I feel like people forget that there are choices in calisthenics to train this muscle, but there is, it's the Nordic curl. And maybe one of the reasons that people don't do this exercise or don't know about it is because, well, you first of all need the setup, right? You need to have a place where you can sit on your knees with a soft surface under your knees so that you don't hurt yourself, but also where you can hook your heels or your ankles behind something. And it has to be stable because you're going to be applying a lot of pressure. But you can use a friend as well, you can have a friend push your ankles down so that you can do the movement. But the Nordic curl is going to give you insanely strong hamstrings, it's going to give you insanely strong tendons and ligaments, and also just a posterior chain in general, because when you're doing a Nordic curl and you're going down, and then you're going back up, you have to brace yourself, you have to activate your lower back, and of course you have to pull very hard with your hamstrings. Also, your calves are going to be bigger because your calves get involved as well. But this exercise, I highly recommend it, If you can master this exercise, it's something similar to like status of the front lever, where if you can do the front lever, you can do any pull related exercise. You can deadlift, you can pull up, you can do the fucking pull down machines in the gym. You can do it anything you want if you can do the front lever, because you have this base strength. And it's exactly the same for the Nordic curl. Well, if you can do it, you're gonna have a strong posterior chain, allowing you to do many different exercises as well. Not only strength related, but also like jumping and sprinting, it's gonna give you a benefit in those areas as well. So yeah, that's why I would recommend it. That's what I'm gonna do today. And basically I'm gonna head outside because there I have these stairs where I can hook my heels behind. But today is kind of the theme of Hello Darkness, my old friend, I guess, because, well, winter has finally come and it's dark outside in Belgium at like 6 p.m. right now. So I get home at 6 p.m. and it's pitch dark. So anyway, today on the menu is going to be assisted Nordic curls. I'm not going to do the unassisted variant today, but rather I'm going to do the assisted variant where I use my pinkies as sort of assistance on the bottom. And also I'm going to add weight. Now, that sounds a bit weird, but the reason I do it is because when you have to place your pinkies for assistance, you also kind of force yourself to control the rep. So I'm going to do the bottom portion of the rep in a slow and controlled fashion, but also I want it to be hard, so I'm going to add some weight, 6 kilos to be exact, and I'm going to aim for 5 sets of 10. Last time I failed on set number 4 at rep number 7, so today anything that beats last time will be a pass. I will be very happy with. Let's go. Okay, so in order to do a Nordic curl, you're basically hooking your heels behind some stable place and you're sitting on your knees, right? And you're gonna lower your body, but you're keeping your body straight. So at first this is very difficult, it's even difficult to unlock one rep. So what you can do in the beginning is what I'm gonna do now in my warm-up set is I'm gonna use my fingers as assistants. Now I've already warmed up, but basically the more you use your fingers, the easier it becomes. So if you use 10 fingers, very easy. If you use 2 fingers, still quite easy. And then you can move down to index fingers. If that becomes easy, you can use your pinkies because those are weaker. So I'm gonna give an example here. So I'm gonna lower my body, but keep my body straight. So in order to do that, I'm flexing my glutes a little bit. And then I'm placing my pinkies just like this, and using them to push myself back up. But most of the strength is coming from my hamstrings. And you know, if this is still too difficult for you, what you can do instead is you can do only the lower half of the rip, because basically if I do a full rip like this, at the top I'm gonna have to remove my fingers, you know, and the load is quite big. So if that's too difficult, you can only do the bottom half of the rip like this for reps. And basically you always want to focus on the negative part, so you help yourself up, and then on the negative part you try to slowly pull your fingers away, and that way you slowly lower yourself. But at all times you should focus on putting as much pressure on your hamstrings as possible, and that's how you can eventually unlock the Nordic roll. You know, you can start doing negatives without assistance, and you can start doing an unassisted rep. But for today I'm gonna do assisted reps like I mentioned. I'm gonna aim for 5 sets of 10 with pinky assistance, and basically see from there. So let's go. Alright, this is gonna be difficult. Alright, one more set. Holy fuck. Alright, so in the meantime I have moved on to the second exercise, hip extensions. But when it comes to the Nordic rolls, judging from the last few reps, that was the right intensity. And actually that's 5 sets of 10 completed. I think the next time I'll be going back to unassisted Nordic rolls, which I'm looking forward to a fuck ton. I really want to get those 50 reps, you know, 5 sets of 10, that would be the dream. But right now, hip extensions, lately I've been doing these as like kind of part of a rehab circuit for my hips, but doing that didn't really allow me to focus on the hip extensions. So today I'm just doing these separately, and I'm gonna try and aim for 5 sets of 10. So actually the exact same thing that I did for the Nordic rolls, although I don't know how it's gonna go, you know. 10 reps is very hard, but I'm just gonna try and keep up. I'll do 5 sets no matter what, but ideally 5 sets of 10 with 36 kilos. It's more than last time, it's progress, so that's what I'm aiming for. I'm very happy with this, you know. Not every training you have to reach for insurmountable goals. Sometimes you just have to stay consistent and aim for a little bit better than last time. And then, even then, you know, sometimes you'll fail, but the most important part is that you try. But yeah, let's do the 4 remaining sets right here, and then we can, I think we can discuss, but we'll see. Okie dokie, so that's it for today's training, and the hip extensions went very well. On set number 4 I was like, this is too easy, so I went for my max, 12 reps, and then on set number 5, 10 reps was just about my maximum, you know. In the last few reps, I wasn't able to get it up completely anymore. That sounds weird without context, but you get what I'm saying, you know, PR on the hip extensions, so I'm happy. And, you know, most of us are, of course, doing training because we want to progress, whether it's strength or physical, it doesn't matter. But if you want to progress, you have to, or it's best to aim for progress on every fucking exercise you do. So these hip extensions, they are not directly the exercises that I care about the most, but they do translate into strength for those exercises that I care about. So if I want to get stronger, I have to also make sure to apply the hypertrophy principles to this exercise. Aim for progress, aim to be stronger than last time. Of course, if you want to, excuse me, if you want to do exercises for just maintenance, that's fine. I do that as well. When I go for a run, I just run 5 kilometers every day. And every day, it's just about the same time, it's just about the same intensity, and I'm happy with that. I'm happy to just maintain it at the moment, because at the moment it's not my priority. But if you make something your priority, everything you do for that priority should be in order to progress, should be for hypertrophy. But yeah, that's it for today's training, and oops, I'm messing up a lot today. Well, yeah, that's it for today's training, but let's do a quick post down, because, well, if I just post a Nordic curl in the thumbnail, then you're gonna know the exercise before it even starts the video, you know? So let's do a quick no pump in the quadriceps post down. You know, I only have a bit of a pump in my hamstrings and my glutes at the moment, or actually quite a serious pump. Like maybe it's possible that you see some flesh, you know? But anyway, I'm gonna do a shot from the front, so I may have gotten a bit thicker in the backside, in the glute, but not that much that it's gonna stick out from the side. So it's a no pump check in my opinion. Now let's just stop fucking messing about and do a pose. All right, that should be good. Whew. I'm feeling today's workout, and you know, let's talk about the Nordic curl a bit more. One thing that you have to know is that it's not an easy exercise by any means, not to unlock, but also not to master. You know, it's, how do I say it? It's like one of the big 4 exercises of calisthenics, you know, or one of the big 5 exercises that I'm doing, and those exercises are never easy. It's like the bench press and the squat and the deadlift in weightlifting or in gym culture. Everyone knows that those lifts have big benefits, you know. Everyone knows it. And still there are lots of people that don't do it. Why? Because they're hard. And it's the same for the Nordic curl, you know. It's hard on your muscles, but it's also hard on your tendons and your ligaments. It's a bit dangerous, so you have to be well prepared, you have to be patient, you have to be willing to not rush the process, because it's gonna take a while to unlock it. But once you master it, there are so many benefits to it, you know. It's just like the bench press gets you strong at all pushing lifts in the gym. This one, the Nordic curl, will get you strong at all lifts hamstring related. And, you know, when you pick your exercises, you know, there are so many things you can do in training, like so many options, and we want to get good at everything, but of course you can only train so much, you know. It's like the eggs in the baskets. You can put all of your eggs in one basket and progress very fast at something, you know, put all of your energy in one place and progress very fast on something, or you can distribute your eggs amongst different baskets, but then your baskets aren't as full as they would usually be, you know, and that's distributing your energy. You can only distribute your energy so much before you start to not progress at anything you do, you know. If you don't put enough energy into something, you're not going to progress at all. So you have to focus. And so the way that you can still become strong at everything is to pick exercises, like very hard exercises that will get you a basic strength, you know. It will give you like this functional strength that will carry over into many other disciplines as well. For example, the front lever, it will carry over into all other pull exercises. In the gym, it's the deadlift, it will make you strong at everything, right? Or the planche, it will make you strong at all push exercises. I can dip a lot of weight because I train the planche, right? Even though I don't train the dips a lot. And the same is for the pistol squat. If I do the pistol squat, other exercises like the normal squat in calisthenics will also get stronger. If I try a back squat at the gym, it will also progress without really training it because I've just gotten stronger legs, right? So you pick those exercises that will benefit you over the whole curve, like everywhere. And then you can become strong at everything by doing very little. Or I shouldn't say by doing very little, but by doing limited things a lot. You try to focus on limited things, but you become very strong at them. So definitely, give the Nordic curl a go. It's not easy, but it's worth it. That's all I can say. But that's it for today's training. Very happy with how it went. Let's talk about that because, this training, it was not very special, It was just the basic Nordic curls, right? Nothing fancy. And then it was hip extensions, nothing fancy. But I personally really enjoyed this training. Why? Because I have a few wins in my head. And oftentimes we only care about like big wins, but you have to care about small victories as well. I got a small PR on the Nordic curl, but also I did 2 extra sets on hip extensions, which I normally don't do, right? I only do 3 sets. So I put in more effort where I was able to, and that makes me happy. Right now, I'm gonna do the same. I'm gonna close the video, but when you guys are not watching anymore, I will be doing some more stretches, care about recovery. I'm trying to make stretching a routine for myself, which I should have been doing a long time ago, but also those little things, those little things that you should have been doing, if you start doing them, they're gonna make you happy because you can feel good about yourself that you did a hard thing, For me, stretching, it's hard because it's boring and it's painful, right? So I'm gonna do some stretching, do some rehab exercises for my hip, and basically be satisfied with today's training. So that's it. I'm gonna do my stretching, then head downstairs for some dinner, and I'll see you tomorrow for a push day.